the Winnipeg Comedy Festival proudly presents Customs and Integration. And now, from his home on native land, please welcome your host, Craig Lozon.
Woo! Yes! Anin, bonjour, and welcome to Customs and Integration. That's the show tonight. And if you could all just turn your heads up to this camera here, it's got state-of-the-art facial recognition software so that we can share your data with CSIS and U.S. intelligence. Nah, just kidding. Don't worry, it's not that kind of customs. Look, I'm smiling. You can trust me. It's good. Tonight, you're gonna hear comics talk about the immigrant experience, either through first-hand knowledge or stories that they've heard from their parents or grandparents or just their 10th grade teacher, Mr. Varga, that would give you a big fat zero to roll home to your parents while eating green peppers like they're green apples. Now, you'll hear stories about people leaving their cultural birthplace to come here, to a new land, and adopting new Canadian customs and traditions that stretch way, way back to even before Hallmark cards. For example, in Canada, we do not observe the Scandinavian holiday Det Moder af Valkyrie-dag, or Valkyrie Day, where they celebrate their warrior women that sailed the seas as fierce shield maidens, fighting and conquering alongside with their Viking counterparts. But we do have Secretary's Day, so that's... And I consider myself to be more Canadian than even Canada itself. My mum is British, and my dad is French, and they actually managed to separate. Yeah. 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 None of this staying together for the sake of the country business. You get on with things, you know? My dad was actually Ojibwe, who lived in Quebec. But I think it's fair to say that most First Nations are happy that Europeans came here. They brought the new world to us. You know, before the arrival of Europeans, we had no idea that snow was in the wrong place. But Europeans, they brought us shovels, and they showed us how to spend a good chunk of the day moving it into big piles instead of just walking over it. Or that, like here, in a place like Winnipeg, you're supposed to live that close to a river that floods every year. You know, for centuries, we'd been doing it wrong, staying up there on the hills. So miigwech, and thank you for that knowledge. And a great custom in Canada is to celebrate Canada Day. It's a beautiful thing. Every July 1st, new Canadians and old Canadians come together to celebrate how bad original Canadians were at land deals. And wave flags and watch fireworks. It's a time to recognize that no matter what your origins are, at the end of the day, when the fireworks are all done, we're all just Canadians, screaming at each other in a traffic jam, just trying to get back home. Now that's Canada. I grew up with my mum, and she's British, and she loves liver and onions, which is the worst thing ever if you're a kid. If Sesame Street was called Liver and Onions, no kid would ever watch it. It would not have lasted one season. If you want to see a kid have a big bird, try and make him eat liver and onions. It's like, near, far, near, far. Liver and Onions, brought to you by the letters F and U. And by the number 1. But this is Canada. And what makes this country great is that no matter where you come from, no matter who you are, you can be a cab driver or an Uber driver or a limo driver or a pizza delivery guy. The sky is the limit if you have a car. Yeah. Now, how about we get this show into gear and get to your first performer of the night? This performer is originally from Nicaragua. Now she lives in Canada, which shows you just how far some people will go to escape hurricane season. Please welcome a force of nature herself, Marta Chaves.
How you doing, Winnipeg? I am so happy to be here in this gorgeous theater performing for an open-minded crowd because sometimes I don't do shows this nice. Tonight I'm here performing for you, beautiful people. Tomorrow I may be at the Legion. Performing for an all-white crowd who are wondering, what is Consuela doing on stage? And why is she not vacuuming? But I was a refugee. That's how I started out. I started as a refugee. And look at me now, huh? Look at me now. In Canadian show business. The government of Nicaragua will never be able to find me. The thing I don't like about Canada, and I'm not going to lie to you, is the winter. Because not even the people that was born here from the ground, like the winter. In Nicaragua, we think that snow is white and pristine, like in Christmas cards. They don't know all the work that it implies. They don't know you have to leave your house as if you're going in a polar expedition all the time. You gotta bring a lot of shit with you everywhere you go. And God forbid you forget your indoor shoes, huh? They look at you as if you forgot your pants. On New Year's Eve, I forget my shoes, my indoor shoes, and I had to do this show. I managed to fit in a black sequin dress. I did my hair. I was gorgeous. And I don't have my indoor shoes. I had to do the show in Manitoba mucklucks, And I told the audience the truth. This is a tradition in my country. You have to wear big boots to stomp on the whole year. But you know what I hate too? I hate the rain. I can't stand the rain because the rain is kryptonite for my hair, I have curly hair and I need it long because I can't grow a beard, And I need my hair long to hide this big bad boy here, So I am obsessed with my hair. But 2 years ago, because I'm cheap sometimes, so I went to have my hair done to a hairdressing school, in spite of what the voice was telling me. No lo hagas, no seas estúpida. No seas imbécil, Marta, no lo hagas. But I don't listen to my voice because it reminds me of my mother. And when I get to the school, I realize that all of the students practice in one another because they all look as if they were victims of a nuclear holocaust. And the only student who was free was Khadija, the Muslim girl with her hijab. And she tells me that she's new, that she started like 3 weeks ago. And the voice starts yelling at me, don't do it. This woman is new. She's going to do a job on you. Don't do it. No seas estúpida. But then my Canadian voice interrupts. Hey, buddy. If you don't do your haircut with Khadija, people are going to think you're racist. Eh? So that's the way I ended up in her chair, you know, like a little lamb. And when I see the result, a silent tear starts tracking down my cheek. And she tells me, did I do something wrong? And I still lie to her because I don't want to offend her. I say, no. I am crying because I'm happy. Because I will be converting to your religion. Give me your veil, Khadija. Give me your veil. And that's how I spent 7 months as a Muslim woman. Hey, Winnipeg, you have been a fabulous crowd. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
After the break, Jordan's loss is Canada's gain. Nour Hadidi when the Winnipeg Comedy Festival continues.
When you think about it, Vancouver and India are a lot alike. They both have a lot of people doing yoga, and they both have a lot of shops selling clothes made in India. So please welcome from Vancouver via India, the very funny Vishal Ramesh.
Yes, my name is Vishal Ramesh. For some of you, that's complicated, but then you have to hear my middle name. It's Anegondi. So my full name is Vishal Anegondi Ramesh. I use the whole thing as just my first name sometimes to mess with people. I see the way some of you look at me. You hear the way I speak. You think to yourself, this guy must be from a really bad place on earth. He probably had a terrible childhood. But let me assure you, I'm not from Saskatchewan. But I'm from India. I've been living in Vancouver for a while now. And my parents don't like the fact that I'm here out in the West, right? Because my lifestyle is completely opposite to them. Like, I eat meat, I consume alcohol, I respect women, and they hate that. But when I tell people in Canada that I'm from India, they're very curious. They ask me a lot of curious questions. So one question I get asked a lot is, have you ever read the Kama Sutra? To which I respond, if you're reading the Kama Sutra, you're probably doing it wrong. The point is to see the pictures and move on. And sometimes the questions are a little offensive. I was with a girl yesterday and she's like, do you know how to cook Indian food? That's so offensive. Never ask an Indian person that. Because the whole point of Indian food is to have somebody from a lower class cook it for you. The cheap labor is part of the eating experience. And sometimes the questions are obviously religious. They're like, how come you have 1 million gods in India? We have only one here. I'm like, oh, it's obvious. The work that can be done by one god here can be done by 1 million gods there at the same price. It's called outsourcing. But I love being in Canada because I get to learn a lot of new things here, yeah. Yesterday I learned a new word. It's called friend zone. Yeah, apparently, like, if you're good friends with a girl you're attracted to and you can't have sex with her, it's called being in the friend zone. Like, from where I come from, we just call that life. For me, being in the friend zone is like being a referee in a soccer game. You're on the field running much harder than all the other players, but you never get to touch the ball. And you have to listen to their problems and give out cards. And when the game ends, no one remembers your name. I like being in Canada. I was very excited to get here. I was so excited to be in Canada that when my plane landed, I literally screamed out of joy. It was not because I loved Canada that much. It was because I was flying the Malaysian Airlines. So I was relieved that the plane landed finally. So I was sitting next to this guy in an aeroplane when I was here, and we started having a conversation, right? So I asked him, where do you work? He's like, I work at ISIS. I'm like, the terrorist organization ISIS? And he's like, yeah, that's the one. At this point, I was a little concerned. I was like, dude, if you're gonna blow up the plane, you have to let me know because I have to go to the bathroom and masturbate at least once before I die. He's like, hey, don't worry about that. I just work at the human resources. At this point, we start talking about professional challenges. I'm like, it's so hard as a comedian to make money. And he's like, it's so hard to find an experienced suicide bomber these days. It's like all the good ones are dead. This got me thinking, right? Like, life is so hard as a suicide bomber. Like if you're a suicide bomber, like, how would you find yourself a job? Like, is there like a job portal where like job descriptions are written? Wanted, senior suicide bomber. Must have at least 3 years of experience hating the infidels. Must be willing to wear heavy vests. Must be willing to travel once. And after the plane ride ended, he's like, hey, why don't we get in touch on LinkedIn? And I'm like, cool, all right, we can get in touch on LinkedIn. I can endorse you for like chemical warfare or like whatever your skill set is. And he's like, sure, like, what's your name? I'm like, my name is Vishal Ramesh, nice to meet you. And that's just my first name. That has been my time. You guys have been awesome. Thank you.
Here's Jordan's greatest export, Nour Hadidi.
Hello. Hi, hello. Hi, my name is Nour. It is both an Arab and Muslim name. Hold the applause. It's too much. Autocorrect thinks it's Nour Hasidic. Apple thinks that I'm Black and Jewish, which is why I'm adopting a stage name, Lenny Kravitz. Yeah. And when I'm feeling really pretentious, I go by Drake. That's what I do, yeah. I've been living in Canada for 9 years, but before that, I was born and raised in Jordan. And I love telling people that, because one time this girl was like, oh, like Michael Jordan. I said yes. I am from Michael Jordan. We are the former pro basketball country. And Air Jordan is our airline. I try and go back home at least once a year just to see my family and remember why I left. Because my dad is a doctor and my younger sister just graduated med school. Yeah, thanks. So when we meet people, my dad's like, yeah, these are the girls. This is Lena, the doctor. And this is Nour. I'm like, thanks, Dad. I'm not the daughter you should be worried about because I'm not gonna kill someone at work. You know? And if I do, how amazing am I? Oh my God, thanks. Believe me, guys, I would love it if one of you died right now. Oh, that would make my career. It's not really going well for my country right now. We are surrounded by Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Palestine. Those are our neighbors, yeah. I got asked out by a Jewish guy once, yeah, at work. He was asking me out, and I said, you know what, David? If you listen carefully, you can hear my father's heart attack. Just pay attention, yeah. I tried explaining Craigslist to my dad. He said, who is this Craig? Why are you on his list? Yeah. And ladies, no matter where we grew up, we all watch Disney movies, which is why we're going out with these idiots. Because my favorites were Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. So as a child, my Prince Charming was either a homeless boy or a monster. Those were my two options, yeah. But if you are Arab like myself, dating a hairy beast, not that far from reality, you know? Thanks. Traveling's really hard for me as well. I was recently in Cleveland. Round of applause, who here has been to Cleveland before? Okay, a couple of people. I was there for 5 days, which is 4 days too many. What a dump. And I grew up in the Middle East. You guys. I hate it so much. I got my money stolen in Cleveland. It was really bad. I was there for a comedy festival, and I found out on the second day, and I started crying, and I couldn't handle it, and I called my dad. And he was like, Nour, stop it. It could have been a lot worse. You don't know what could have happened. You know, they could have stolen your passport. Yeah. I was like, yeah, Dad, because everyone knows how valuable it is to buy and sell Jordanian passports. I went in for a job interview recently, and the guy was like, oh, Nour, that's such a pretty name. I said, thank you so much, it's Arab. He said, oh, you don't sound Arab. Yeah. I was like, that's okay, because you don't look racist. It's fine. Thanks, guys. I have to tell you that my favorite question that anyone has ever asked me in North America was when I was in New York. I was doing a show in Brooklyn, and a girl came up to me after the show, and she said, excuse me, I just want to ask you, are you a practicing Muslim? I said, yes, I'm hoping to make the national team. I don't know if you know them, the Muslim All-Stars, but we put the all in Allah. That's what we do. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Thank you.
When we return, Dan Taylor brings the luck of the Irish here on the Winnipeg Comedy Festival.
This comic is a second-generation Canadian from Western Europe, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Dan Taylor.
Thank you, Winnipeg. I'm excited to be here. I bet you're wondering why a guy who looks like me is on the Customs and Integration show. I'm confused myself. I think someone decided that we didn't want the rest of them backstage by themselves, you know. Planning things, you know, that's not... I am surprised to be here. I look like what happens when you do a Google image search of white privilege. But I do come from recent immigrants. My grandparents moved to Canada from Northern Ireland. And I know that it's easy to underestimate the great cultural gulf between Belfast, Northern Ireland, and rural Prince Edward Island, but it does exist. My grandparents had the courage to move from a land full of angry alcoholics with silly accents to a land full of angry alcoholics. Silly. I am from the Maritimes, though, and I know that might be hard of you to understand because I don't talk with a fake accent, because that's what the viewers to the CBC's like. But it's a true thing. It was a real thing. My grandparents moved after my grandfather beat a man to death in a fist fight. But he was a Catholic man, so whatevs. So they roll in Northern Ireland. But I don't live on Prince Edward Island now. I live in Edmonton, which I love. It's a growing and diverse community, which I'm very excited by. But it does make life a little bit complicated, especially when navigating the politics of the under-6 soccer team. I'm very intense about the under-6 soccer team, which is not a sentence that an adult should say. But I coach the soccer team, and it's tough because my neighborhood is made up completely of either white hippies and brand new Canadians. And it's tough because the white hippie parents will come to me as the coach, and they'll be like, so Oliver wants to play soccer, but he doesn't actually want to play soccer. Is that okay? And because I'm a reasonable human being, what I say out loud is, that's fine. Oliver can participate at whatever level Oliver wants to participate. It's all about Oliver having fun in the end. But what I'm thinking in my brain is, Oliver is wasting my time. Get rid of Oliver, bring him back when he's ready to compete. Nobody wants him here. And it's frustrating because the other half of the team is made up of brand new Canadians, and these are people who are deeply passionate about soccer. Some of them, it's the first person in their family that has gotten to play organized soccer with like a full kit and like a grass field and a round ball and no one shooting at them. It's a beautiful, beautiful moment, and that kid has to sit on the sidelines so Oliver can go eat grass? Get rid of him! The other thing that I've learned from this that we can fix together as white people is that we need to stop naming our children things that end in Aiden. This is the actual roster for my son's soccer team. Peyton, Jaden, Caden, Braden, Tayton, Isaac, Ibrahim, Saif, Mauricio, and Ganur. Half of those names are interesting and have history and culture. The other half of those names, it's like at the hospital. They were like, here's a 26-sided die, white people. We know you're going to end it in Aiden. Let's just get this over with. But it's complicated, though, because I do have this racist redneck past that I still live with. And in my diverse neighborhood, I still have some family members who are concerned, and they're always concerned about who my daughter is going to date for some reason. That's the biggest thing that they're afraid of. So I'll have like an uncle that will be like, what are you going to do when your daughter brings home one of these African boys? And I'm like, nothing. Treat him with the same level of passive-aggressive disdain that I'll treat anyone my daughter is romantically involved with. I don't know why that's the thing that I'm supposed to be afraid of, because I met a lot of young Canadian boys, and they're nothing to be proud of. And in all honesty, I would way rather my daughter bring home a new Canadian who is like, still knows how to work and is still afraid of his dad, rather than... rather than some piece of junk white kid from the suburbs whose parents have never told him no? Forget it. My daughter can bring home all the Mauricio Saifs and Ganours she wants. If she brings home an Oliver, I'm burning his house down. Thanks so much. My name's Antel. Have a good night.
Coming up, Mark James Heath runs for the border when the Winnipeg Comedy Festival returns.
This next performer is from the USA, but he's here in Canada to try and make it in showbiz. So please welcome Mark James Heath.
Hey, peace. Winnipeg, it's great to be here. I am originally from Chicago. Me and my wife, we moved here. We had our kids here because it was free. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good on you as a country. We currently, we live in Toronto, and Toronto is great because, like, everybody in my neighborhood is an immigrant, you know, including me. Like, we all got there within the last, 50 years, you know? So it makes the racism nice and subtle. It's great. I go places now, I see people with overt racism, I'm just like, that's tacky. You gonna let that racism hang out? You're not even gonna tuck it in? That's how you're gonna do? But as soon as you come to another country, that's when you realize that you are like an ignorant American, that you're very uneducated about the rest of the world. I'm meeting people from all over the world. I like how I actually get to meet like Africans who are directly from Africa. I think that's such a cool thing. Like being from the States, you always feel like Africa, like you need a spaceship or a time machine to get to Africa. It's good to like meet people who are actually from there. All my friends at home, like their perception of what Africa is, they get from the American media. I'm like, the American media doesn't know about you. Like they got Chicago wrong. How you figure they got Nigeria all mapped out? It's probably not the case. So it's like when I first got here, I had a job at a call center, which I like to refer to as a phone plantation. Pretty much a phone plantation. I don't know if you ever worked at a call center, but it's a field of visible minorities doing menial work. Some manager walking up and down the aisles trying to make sure none of us are reading, you know what I mean? They even used the slavery metaphor one time. I'll never forget this. He was like, productivity is down, all right? We want you guys to work a little harder. We don't want to have to crack the whip. I was like, whoa. Hold on a second. All right. As an African American, I promised my mother I would never work near whips or crack. So, not been good for us as a people. Let's not do any more slavery metaphors, otherwise I might burn the building down. So, let's keep that in mind. Thank you. Oh, you're sweet. You're sweet people. But that's a big thing. Like, that's a big thing is like people asking me what my background is. Like, that's very common where I am right now. It's like, oh, what's your background? Where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from the US. And they're like, but before that. And I'm just like, I don't really know. It was a secret. If you know and could tell me, that would be fantastic. And I went out to Halifax, and their situation is very similar. Like, if you're a Scotian black person, like, you're Canadian. Like, they've been there since, like, the 1600s. So I was excited. Like, I went to their, like, civil rights museum that they have, and I was, like, looking at all this history, and I was like, man, this is amazing. Hey, was there ever, like, a Ku Klux Klan in Halifax? Did they ever have that? And the guy looked at me and was like, no, we had some local groups, but we never had, like, a national group like that in Canada. And I think that is a very Canadian thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, clap it up for that. Very Canadian thing. Much too laid back of a country for that. Like, I can't see two Canadian guys sitting around like, hey, buddy, you want to put on white sheets and chase around black people? Nah, I might spill my beer, eh? And anyways, I'm exhausted after what we did to the Aboriginal people. I'm pooped. All tuckered out. Only one genocide in me, I'm afraid. Let's just watch some corner gas or something. But to be fair, though, be fair, it's way too windy in Halifax to be running around in sheets. You can't really pull that off. You know what I mean? Being the Klan in Halifax, you need like a toque and earmuffs. You can't intimidate black people in earmuffs. It's not possible. Be standing out in front of a black person's house. Get out here, boy. Actually, we're gonna come in there. It's freezing. Turn on the baseboard heater. I'm Mark James Heath. Thank you, guys.
Lebanese-Canadian Dave Merheje is up next, here on the Winnipeg Comedy Festival.
Lebanon, Canada. Two countries that couldn't be more different. Most years, they share exactly the same chances of bringing home the Stanley Cup. Really? So how about a big round of applause for Dave Merheje?
Keep it going for yourselves. No? Okay, cool. Oh, man. I grew up, like, my parents are from Lebanon, and I was born in Windsor. That was the most depressing whistle. I like how, because people get mad, like, the thing is like, I grew up, it was just only me, like, Lebanon, like, you know, there was like, old school white dudes. And it was like, it's only, like I grew up with a dude named Billy Link, was like the only black, like it was just me and him. That's it. Even if I see him now, I'm like, yeah, like that. Like I give him like, what up, dude? Like a thumbs up, because I feel like we make, because now in Windsor, it's all Middle Eastern, like the mayor, like it's just too, and I'm a proud Lebanese person, but it's too much. It's too much. It's too much, man. They turned a Taco Bell into a shawarma. What? No, man, I want the shawarma. I don't want to drive. I don't want a shawarma through a drive. I don't want an Arab dude yelling at me through, I'd rather in person, not through a window. He's like, yeah, come, like, I don't need that Arab, like, in my face. Because I like the old school shawarma where, like, the old dude would come out and he hated life. Like, the guy would just come out like this. Like, he just, I don't know what happened to him back there, but he was just kind of miserable. I'm like, who killed your soul back there? He's just like, what do you want? Because I'm always confident outside of a shawarma place, but when I go in, because they yell at you. I mess up the order. I never buy what I want because they yell at you. Their sales tactic sucks. It's just like, come on, man. Like, they rush you and you forget. You're like, what do you want? I go, I don't know. Why are you yelling at me, right? And they always yell at a guy back there. Who is the guy? You never see that guy. They're just yelling at a dude back there. I went in, the guy's, well, what would you like? I go, beef. He goes, okay, nice. Do you want onions? I go, yeah. And then he looked, and then he goes, tomatoes? I go, yeah. And he looked down. I don't know what happened when he looked at the tomato, because his eyes changed. Like, I don't know what happened down there. And he snapped. He just went, he goes, Ahmed! Come on, man. I ask you in the morning to fill the tomatoes. You don't fill. I don't know what you do. All day, you walk around. I don't even want to hire you. My wife make me hire you. I know you do drugs every day. I'm not dumb. Behind garbage, puff smoke, come out. I have eyes. I have no security camera. I'm eyes. My security eye camera, me. I'm not the asshole. You're the asshole. Do you want lettuce? No, I don't. I need a therapist. That's what I need, dude. My mom calls me every day. She's like that type of Lebanese mom for like 15 years, every day. Same question. She just calls me, Dave, what did you eat? What did you eat? And I tell her and she hangs up, doesn't ask anything else. She's like, Dave, what did you eat? And I go, a sandwich. What was in the sandwich? I don't know, there was bread, chicken. What else? I go, onions, tomatoes, lettuce. What else? I go, mustard, ketchup. Okay, bye. Like, that's all, every 15 years. But she does it whenever I'm on the bus. You know, with people. You know how crazy I look? Because they don't know what's happening on the other side. They just hear me going, tomatoes, lettuce, sandwich, eggs, yeah, bye. And that's it. I have 7 more stops. She never calls me when I got 1 stop. It's 7 stops. Now I look like a lunatic. She always, like my mom would always tell me too, she's like, don't do drugs. Right, you know, she always be like, they're bad, which they're bad, I got it. But I didn't believe it. They're not bad. They're bad, but they're not bad. Does that make sense? But I did it. I did ecstasy, and I liked doing ecstasy still. I don't do it now, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I would still. So we're chalking up E-pills. That's what they're called, like, to sniff them because you get higher quicker, right? So my buddy had a cat. We don't see where I didn't see the cat all day, right? I turn, and the cat jumps down and licks the powder and leaves, right? My buddy snaps. He goes, man, who is that guy? I go, what? That's how cracked out he was. He goes, who's that guy, man? I'm like, that's a cat. He goes, man, he owes me 20. Like, what? He goes, I work overtime. He owes me money. I'm like, it's a cat. It doesn't have pockets, I guess. Now he's making me rationalize with him. Like, now he's bringing me to his level. I'm like, it doesn't have a bank account, right? We turn around, the cat has the glow stick on its chest. Right? And then my buddy goes, yo, I'm gonna punch it in the face. I go, what? Whoa. This is before YouTube. So in my head, I'm like, yeah. Like, I've never seen a man versus a cat. So I'm like, yeah. Like, I wanna know how he's gonna punch this cat. You know how dope that? Like, is he gonna curl his hand? Like, I don't know how he's gonna do it. So I go, yeah, do it. And he walks by me and he goes, cover me. I go, from what? Dude, if another cat shows up, I'm leaving. How did he even, like, I'm done. That sounds crazy. So he punches the cat, but the cat doesn't budge. It just looks at him, like, because it was so high. I feel if it could talk, he'd be like, bro, I'm stoned. I can't feel my face. But ecstasy makes you horny, right, dude? So it got horny. I don't know how to explain it. The cat was getting horny. Like, it jumped off the bed, and it was, like, cornering us. We had nowhere to go, but it was getting sexy, right? Like, its fur was percolating. I don't know what that means. Its meow was different. It would be like meow. It was sexy meow. It was a sexy meow. And then it was, like, rubbing itself like a shitty stripper. And I can't even handle, like, horny women when they talk to me, so I panicked. And I'm like, I don't have condoms. And I ran out of the house. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching our Customs and Integration show. Did you have a good time? Yeah, you did. Anybody not clapping's a racist. Good night.